March 15th, and as was pointed out, this is the Ides of March, which means nothing to me. So your grade is updated except the essay, which I will be grading this weekend because I've had kids turn them in. Otherwise, whatever you see on Skyward is your grade. I uploaded the quiz yesterday and put everything in except for that essay. Camp friend list is due this weekend. Don't forget, everything's look good. I'll be making groups starting next week, so hopefully I can be nice to you. And then St. Patrick's Day is Sunday, which is why I was wearing shamrocks, the four-leaf clovers, and stuff like that this past week. Julia! Then I get to put you in a group. So today is the last day of third 9 weeks, which means Monday is fourth 9 weeks. So I figured I would at least try to help guide you a wee bit. One, it does mean that you're 3/4 of the way through 7th grade. You almost made it to the finish line. Agreed. You get your final Heroes Hall Pass on Monday. With that one, it is the last one you will get. You can keep using the old ones all the way through the end of the year. If you want to turn them in for B points, you can. Every blank line is 3 points. And if you have a whole blank pass, it's a bonus point. That's up to you if you want to use them. You can hold on to them and wait until the end of the year to cash them in, or just hold on to them and keep them forever. It is your last time getting the 15 new B points because I'll add that to whatever your current total is, and I will do that. That's your last time that'll happen. Grades reset back to A's for all of your class on Monday. For my class, we have our first grade next Friday, which will be the mythology quiz coming up. Since I was supposed to have another one, we just didn't get a chance to get to it, so we just had to cut out a quiz. I'm sure you'll survive. And tardies do not reset. And tardies go all the way to the end of the year. They only reset in December and June. So I had kids who seemed to be all excited, thinking they could run around being tardy today. You can, but that's still going to come back to haunt you on Monday. So I just wanted to keep you in the loop there.
Wait, but not the tardies.
Honestly.
This isn't about this, but when are we going back to our speeches?
I don't know. Whenever we have time. It just depends on how things work out.
Is this good?
Camp Tecumseh, again, you have till next Thursday. Does anyone have order forms?
Oh,
you
just
do?
can I get my left
Is there an order form for this?
yeah, it's for like the teachers.
And then just put it on the X on my desk, and then I will get those turned
Wait,
in
is
for
this
you
gonna
guys.
charge me points?
No, as long as you're bringing the thing from me.
I'm turning it. Can I
And
get
then
some
you
more?
should be good. I will keep reminding you, sending it out to parents and stuff like that to help you out from there. And again, I didn't get a chance to show all my classes the big chair picture, so I left that up there. I'm assuming we have no questions as far as assessment goes. Any questions as far as your groups go? That I can help on that one. It does. Oh, after Sunday, you can still make changes or submit it, but it costs you 3 B points each time you do. So Sunday is your last time that you can turn it in and not have it cost you points. After that, you can keep changing it, but 3 points each time. Alright. Then we'll pick our 3 more people to do this, and then we're going to get to our story for today. Oh, today's story is not about Prometheus. I had to rearrange things. I realized I had them out of order. We will be doing Prometheus' story on Monday. Today is a Greek mythology love story-ish. Home children, I'm going to pause it for a second, and I'm going to do it correctly this time. So I'm going to snap, boop, and hey, we're back.
It's alright.
No, it's a pass.
So I think we got pretty far with you guys. We should be able to get all the way up to our fun story for today, but we'll do a little reminding thing. See, who makes the second version 2.0? Prometheus, no longer using mud and water. Now we use clay. And then to go along with the clay, we add in the toolbox. Was in the toolbox? That's where the body parts comes in. And then we start making them. Oh, and then he has to make humans and there's nothing else. And then what mistake is made?
He like ran out of the leftovers on us.
And then what was the one thing humans did get a lot of?
Brains.
We got a lot of brains, although not everyone got a lot of brains, but some of you did. And then that's when he ends up getting us all the leftover parts and the brains. And then we talked about sacrificing, which is going to play a big role in today's story. They don't sacrifice people, they sacrifice food. Why do they care about sacrificing?
Because that's how they
And that's going to play our big role in today. Who is the most popular? Zeus is the most popular one. Second most popular? Depends. There you go. It depends. Did we get through our sacrificing of the cow?
Yes.
And the
rainbow.
rainbow.
What are the 4 cow parts?
Meat and goo.
There you go. Why does the goo look rainbowy?
Because it's like the sun and then the science.
The oil and science. And then the oil that goes into it. Which are the 2 that humans want? Which one should they want? Did we get to the God that helped them?
No.
So this is roughly where we got to? Perfect. All right.
Is Prometheus gonna help him?
So at this point, the humans are all excited because they see the big pile of those head wacky sticks, and they see the pile of all of the skins and the meat, and they're like, we don't want any of those. Now, they're like, we just have to find a way to convince Zeus to give us these anytime we sacrifice a wild animal. This is only if you go hunting and kill an animal. This is the 2 piles that you make. So like at your dinner table, you're not making these piles. But as soon as they realize that they want to make these piles and keep those, a god who can tell the future realizes something bad's going to happen. That god being Prometheus. And here's where Prometheus realizes, oh my god, these people are idiots. Who made... Oh wait, never mind, I know that answer. So Prometheus shows up where the humans are, and he walks in and he goes, hey, what you guys doing? And they're like, oh, Zeus is going to have us do sacrifices whenever we kill a wild animal, and we're making 2 piles, and we found out that we have these rainbow sticks that we can make, and we can dip them into the goo and smack each other in the head, and this useless pile of like clothing and hamburgers and stuff like that. And we're trying to figure out how we can get Zeus to convince us to have these things. Prometheus steps up to all the humans and goes, hey, and slaps all of them at once and goes, what is your issue? And they go, what do you mean? He goes, you guys are idiots. And they're like, hey, like our creator, apple didn't fall far from the tree. He goes, here's the issue. This is what you want. So you can wear your leather jackets to impress the girls that we're going to be inventing soon, because you guys don't know what they are, but soon you're going to. And you want hamburgers, so you have a place to go eat when you take them for dates. You don't need rainbow sticks. You can just go pick up any log you see and hit your friends in the head. And they're like, oh, that makes sense. But he goes, here's the problem. If Zeus knows which pile you want, he's a jerk. And he is going to specifically take whichever pile it is that he thinks you want. So you can't let him know which pile it is. You're going to have to trick him. And the humans go, oh, we're not smart enough to do that. And he goes, I know. That's why I'm here to help. So he goes, all right, grab your big pile of rainbow sticks. So they grab their big pile of rainbow sticks. And he goes, all right, now make like a little teepee out of them, and then we're going to dribble all the fat over the top of it. So they take all of the rainbow sticks, and they dribble them together like a little teepee, and then they dribble all the fat over it, and it makes like a big rainbow fat tent thing. And he goes, all right, now take the skin and turn it inside out, and you're going to take all of the meat and throw it on top. And they throw that over to another area. And one of the humans is like, it looks like that cow stepped on a hand grenade or something, because there's like bits everywhere. He goes, exactly. This looks disgusting. This looks awesome. Which one is Zeus going to choose? And the humans are like, well, obviously the awesome one. He goes, exactly. And so he leaves, and he goes, don't tell anyone I was here. This has to be a secret. And the humans go, we won't tell anybody. Well, Zeus shows up, walks in, he goes, all right, you guys ready? And the humans go, uh-huh. He goes, are these the 2 piles? And they go, uh-huh. And he looks over at this one, and he goes, that's beautiful. That looks like the gods. It's amazing. Did you feed a cow a hand grenade? It's like, what happened? That is disgusting and ugly. This reminds me of looking at you guys. Not you guys, but the humans. And the humans go, oh. He goes, so I think anytime you kill a wild animal, you're going to give all of this parts to the gods because it's beautiful like them. You keep the disgusting parts because they remind me of you. Are you ready to shake on it? And the humans go, okay. And they go over and they shake Zeus's hand. Shaky, shaky, shaky. And he goes, all right, you take your disgusting stuff and get out of here. And the humans pick up their big pile of coats and meat and go running out of the cave. Zeus goes over to pick up all the pile of stuff. And he's like, I can't wait to tell all the people on Mount Olympus how I figured this out and how I'm a genius. And he picks it all up, and when he does, slime just goes blah, all down his arms. And he's like, oh my God, I got tricked. This is not beautiful. It was just a big pile of disgusting stuff. I can't believe I fell for it. He's like, how did humans trick me? And he looks down the hill where he sees the humans running, and like one of them running down the hill and like hits a tree, then backs up and hits the tree again, then backs up. And he's like, okay, there's no way they tricked me. That guy just hit, is that the 5th time he hit a tree? And so he's like, all right, someone had to have taught these people how to trick. Only one God is sneaky and smart enough to go behind my back. And that would be
Hermes.
Prometheus.
Oh,
So he
what?
calls up Prometheus and goes, hey buddy, so just did the sacrificing thing with the humans, and it turns out they tricked me into picking up a whole bunch of disgusting stuff, and there's no way they're smart enough to do that, so was that you? Prometheus, unfortunately, is not good at lying. He's actually like a really honest, good person. And he goes, it was, because if I didn't help, the humans were going to die off because apparently they're idiots, and you're going to have to create them all over again, so I did it to help. And Zeus goes, oh, you did it to help? That's great. If you ever help them again and go behind my back, I can't kill you, but I am going to torture you to the point of sadness. And Prometheus goes, okay, I swear I will never go behind your back again. And he doesn't until Monday. So at this point, we now have humans, and things are going well. So we're going to go a different direction, and we're going to tell a love story about a guy.
I know
That's the one. He's so fine.
So
This is my favorite.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
Hades, he has been living down in the underworld, doing his thing, being fairly sort of depressed, but again, he's not real good at talking to people. But then one day, he's sitting down in the underworld, and he liked to watch people like the Titans run around on Earth. And one day, he's watching the Titans run around on Earth, and he sees a hottie. And he's like, oh, that girl is something. And her name is Persephone. She is the daughter of Demeter. And he thinks she is incredibly attractive. And he's like, you know what? I want to go out with her. But he can't just marry her because she's not in his kingdom. Whose kingdom is she in?
Zeus.
Whose permission does he need?
Zeus.
So he finally sucks up the courage and he goes to talk to Zeus. And he confronts his brother. And he goes, hey bro, I have a crush on someone. And Zeus is like, oh, that's so cool. Who is it? And he goes, this Titan girl named Demeter, but she's not in my kingdom. She's in yours. Will you give me permission to seek her out as my wife? And Zeus goes, you know what? I do. I am proud of you for deciding to enter the dating game. I've heard good things. You swiped right on her. Things are going to be great. So because of that, my permission, go for it. So Hades decides to find a way to go out with her. And it also turns out girls are scary. And if you talk to them, they might talk back to you. And that's the scariest thing of all. So he decides that talking to her is not the best solution.
He's gonna trick her.
So he has a better idea. It's sort of like talking to a girl, but we call it kidnapping. And it makes your life much easier. So he comes up with a plan to just kidnap her.
It's like
and
a
then-
white van.
and he decides to just kidnap her, and that solves his problem instead. And he figures if I just throw her into a hole in my basement, eventually she's gonna fall in love with me because that's what every girl wants. Or so he tells himself. But, again, he has to find the right way to kidnap her. So, like his brother, he creepily watches her for a while. And one day, he sees her out running in this field with her friends. And this is another one of those, I wish I was making it up, but it was actually in the story. Apparently, before kids had TikTok, they used to play really weird games. And there was a game called Who Can Find the Coolest Flower, or Who Can Find the Best Flower. And girls used to run around in fields to see who could find the best flowers and then compare them with each other.
How was that?
That's not really that. I would do that.
Never mind, apparently it is still very active, and when you guys go
Oh,
to
no,
you play around there also. So, what he decides to do is create a great, big, beautiful version of a flower, and he goes fishing. So he takes the flower, and he sticks it up through the ground, and then he sort of like lets it wave back and forth in the wind, sort of like when you're fishing. And he's like, oh, I hope she sees it, and it works out perfectly. She does see it. And then all of a sudden, when she sees the flower, she elbows her friends out of the way. She's like, elbow to the face, elbow to the face. She's like, that's my flower! And she like jumps on top of another girl, runs over to the flower and grabs it. And she's like, it's mine! And she grabs the flower to yank it out of the ground. Well, if you've ever been fishing, that's how you know you've caught something. And all of a sudden, Hades is like, I got a big one! And he yanks on the flower, and yay! Yoink! Down she comes. As soon as she goes under the ground, she leaves Zeus's kingdom and becomes part of his kingdom. And he goes, hey, guess what? I'm Hades. You're attractive. Let me introduce you to a hole in my basement. And he takes her down to his basement and throws her down there and goes, you get to live here for the rest of your life. I hope it's good. Now, turns out, Persephone is not real excited about this whole being kidnapped thing. And she goes, no, I don't want to be kidnapped. And he goes, it doesn't matter. I got permission. You're down here. So, like any respectable woman, she pouts, goes to her room and says, I'm not going to talk to you, and I'm just going to stay in here and ignore you. Well, turns out that someone saw this kidnapping happen. There was a guy that was driving a big sun chariot across the sky and saw the ground open up and then saw Hades and then saw her go ee and then fall down and the ground close back up. That god was Apollo. And Apollo goes to tell Demeter that night. He's like, hey, I was driving my chariot and I saw the whole rart and I think Hades took your daughter. Now, Apollo did not try to interfere because he's no dummy. He knows that if Hades did this, he had to have permission. Who would he have permission from? Zeus. So if Apollo tries to stop it, who's he going against? Zeus. Exactly. He's like, I could not do anything to stop it. Demeter is the same way, because now that she knows Zeus gave permission, she can't do anything to stop it. So she becomes sad. What's her main job? So her main job is the grains and harvest. So she goes and talks to Zeus, and she goes, hey, you kind of let our brother steal my daughter, and I would like her back. I'm not pro-kidnapping. Please return my kid. And Zeus goes, no, stop being selfish. Think about Hades and the fact that he finally found love. We need to let him explore this. And she goes, what? And he goes, hand, talk to it. And so all of a sudden she gets real upset. Well, she's supposed to be doing this whole letting crops grow, but she gets so depressed, she stops doing her job. She decides instead she's going to just sit around eating Haagen-Dazs ice cream, one giant container after another, while watching back-to-back reruns of Grey's Anatomy. She was like, I am not going to deal with the rest of reality. I'm just going to sit around depressed, and no one can stop me. And she does this for years. So what happens to the crops?
They die.
This ends up killing off all of the crops. She doesn't care because her daughter's gone. Zeus doesn't care, and he's like, who cares? Eventually she'll outgrow this and things will come back. Until something occurs that gets him to start caring. He doesn't care about the crops being gone. He doesn't care about humans dying. But when he goes down to confront the humans, because something stopped that he does care about.
Sacrifices.
His sacrifices. One day when he's going and checking his social media feed, and he was like, all of a sudden, it's dead, and there's nothing going on. So he goes down to confront the humans. And he's like, hey, my TikTok's not working. Did the government get together and cancel this? And the humans go, no, we can't sacrifice food to you because we have no food for ourselves, so we can't give you any if we have none. And that makes Zeus sad. So Zeus goes back to Demeter and goes, hey, remember that whole conversation we had about you needing to suck it up? Yeah, I need my TikTok back. Can you make this start up again? And she goes, no, I want my daughter back. So he goes, fine. If I have Persephone come back up, will you start my TikTok again? And she goes, deal. He goes, all right. So he sends a message down to Hades. And he goes, Hades, you're gonna have to release Persephone. Apparently I made an oopsie. When I did the whole she can live down there with you, apparently her mom got all grumpy. You know how women are. So can you send her back up and you're going to need to go out on Tinder and find someone else. Well, that ends up making Hades really sad, but it ends up making Persephone really happy. And she's like, I get to go home. So Hades goes, all right, listen. The whole time you've been down here, you've been pouting and throwing a fit and would not even leave your room. Will you at least do me one small favor? She goes, what? He goes, before you leave, will you at least sit down to a dinner with me? And you and I can have like one last meal, and then that way, like, I have a memory so I can remember you, even though you're going to be gone forever. At least I get to have some happiness and joy. And she goes, ugh, if I do this, will you send me back and leave me alone? He goes, yes. Sit down, have a dinner with me, and everything will be okay, and you can go back. So she sits down to have a dinner with him. But it also turns out that when you've been kidnapped, it kind of impacts your appetite. And apparently women don't get hungry when you've been locking them in a hole. So even though she sits down to dinner with him, she's not real hungry. And he keeps pushing. He's like, hey, have some cake. She's like, I don't really want it. And he's like, hey, have some beef. And she's like, I don't want it. But eventually she breaks down and has a couple seeds from a pomegranate. You don't know what a pomegranate is.
It's amazing.
They are.
They're
They
amazing.
are.
They're amazing.
I know what they taste
I'm
like.
not having
I
so-
like the little seeds in the inside.
So if you've never seen a pomegranate, because my kids like them too, the best way I can describe it, and this is not a good description, but if you can imagine,
The
like,
seeds are edible.
looks like a large red orange or like a large red.
Just tell them how the picture looks.
Yeah,
Really?
I like dried
But then when you crack open the orange, on the inside of it, instead of slices,
balls.
it looks like little cranberries. And
They're
you can,
seeds.
they're called seeds, but they're basically little berries, and you can pluck out the berries, and that's what you can eat. So,
Yes.
Yeah, they're really
It's
good.
amazing.
It's
So
nice.
they have a lot of like pomegranate juice. It's like called palm, and it has like a little heart in the middle of it and stuff like that.
That's like
And
Ninja
it's-
Warrior stuff.
Yeah,
That's
it's
like
supposed to be
Ninja
really
Warrior.
My kids like it too. So she ends up having like a few seeds of this pomegranate. And I've seen different stories. Some say 4 seeds, some say 6 seeds, some say it's up to 7 seeds. But she ends up just eating a couple of the seeds. Once their dinner's over, Hades sticks to his side and goes, all right, you can go back up. I apologize for what I did. Hopefully I get to see you again at some point. And she goes, hopefully you die in a hole. She's like, well, you're the god of the dead, and you're in a hole, so we're halfway there. And off she goes. She gets back up to Mount Olympus. Oh, wait, there's him saying bye, her saying, I never want to see you again. She gets up to Mount Olympus, and both Zeus and Demeter are like, welcome back. Good to have you up here. And they go, yay. And then Demeter looks at her and goes, you look different. She goes, yeah, Mom, I was kidnapped. She goes, no, it's something else. There's something about you that looks different. And Zeus looks at her and goes, ooh, did you eat while you were down there? She goes, no, I didn't want to eat at all. I just sat in my room the whole time. He goes, all right, so you never ate anything. She goes, well, I mean, I mostly didn't eat anything. He goes, what do you mean mostly? She goes, well, last night before I left, I did have like a couple seeds from a pomegranate, but like it was literally like just like a handful of seeds, and that was it. Both Zeus and Demeter look at each other and they go, oh, that's not good. She goes, because if you eat any food from the underworld, you get cursed from the underworld and you cannot leave it. Once you've eaten any food down there, the underworld becomes part of you. And both Zeus and Demeter go, you have to go back. We don't get to keep you. And they realize that was Hades' trick. If he could get her to eat, she was going to be stuck down there. But Demeter and Persephone throw a fit. So Zeus goes down to talk to Hades and goes, hey, how about we come to a compromise? She did not eat an entire piece of food. She only ate part of a piece of food. So that way that my sister and your sister doesn't try to kill us, why don't we compromise and say she spends part of the year with you and part of the year with me on Mount Olympus in my kingdom and then part of the year with your kingdom. And they go, all right, sounds like a good deal. Hades agrees and says she ate 6 seeds, so how about she spends 6 months with me, 6 months with her mom. Does that sound like a fair deal?
No.
They shake and agree. So she has to go back down to the underworld, and Hades is excited, and he's like, hey, welcome back. She's not as excited, but at least she gets to go back to visit her mom for roughly half of every single year. She does end up kind of liking him after a while. Because after you've been there long enough,
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome was pretty close. And she's like, he isn't really a bad guy, he's just really not good at talking to people. And eventually she kind of likes being down there. Depending on the stories I've read, she kind of embraces being queen of the underworld. But it's like a vacation, like you don't want to live there, but it's a nice place to visit. So, turns out this is how the Greeks explain how seasons work. When Demeter and her daughter are together, everything is growing and everything is great. That is summertime. But then, eventually, words are hard, Demeter gets sad that her daughter is going to leave. And as she thinks about her daughter leaving, she stops doing her job as well.
Fall.
Which leads to fall. And then once her daughter is officially gone,
Winter.
she's sad, eating ice cream, watching episodes.
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy, that's where winter comes in. But then she's like, ooh, my daughter's coming back. I gotta make the world look nice and pretty again. That becomes, and so that becomes the cycle. According to the Greeks, there are only 2 seasons. Them together, them apart. Spring and fall are just kind of like a transition season. You only have, when they're together, everything is growing. When they're apart, everything dies off. To make it easier, the poster that's behind Sienna, took a picture of it to help you out. And I'm going to zoom in if you can't see this area, which is the one that's like right above Sienna's head. This part of the poster is connected to the story. The guy sitting here in all the dark is the one that's yelling at him, and then the one that's behind. So that would be why she's all dark there and looking sad, because she becomes queen of the underworld, and so that connects to our story. So at this point, we have now introduced winter to humans. We've not introduced women yet. That's still coming up here in just a moment. But now we have winter, which turns out to be a bad thing, because that is going to lead to Prometheus' downfall. Now that we have winter, humans do not do well in wintertime, because we don't have any good fur, and we have no way to keep ourselves warm. Well, how should they keep themselves warm? Fire. But it turns out Zeus refuses to give this generation of humans fire for 3 good reasons. And we're going to learn those 3 reasons on Monday. Because the class ends in about a minute, and I can't tell the whole story in that time.